welcome to episode 2 of Damn Fools. My name is Trenton.
I'm Erik.
And we're your hosts today. And today we have two very special guests. Robert Hest and Emily Hauser from the Hub Cycling team are both here with us to talk about, Erik, support.
Support,
right?
Yes, support. It's a big part of the race. People are riding and people are driving and supporting, and it's a huge element, especially when you get further into the race. It becomes a very important part.
Yeah, we'll get on with it. Erik, nice job on the song pick, by the way. Fugazi, I dig it.
Yes, waiting room. There's a lot of waiting when it comes to supporting riders. So whether you're waiting for someone to show up, waiting for someone to feed you, things like that. There's a lot of waiting going on in this game. It's the waiting game. So right. It's a big part of what we're going to be talking about today.
Killer.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get down to asking questions to both Robert and Emily here. I will throw out a quick fun fact. Robert is one of two other people that helped kind of scout and sort of invented the day across Minnesota with me. Years ago, we did a little bit of a birthday ride, I think it was supposed to be for me. And then we finished the 240. And I think it was your first double century, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was my first double century. Yeah. So wasn't sure if I could do it, but I went okay.
I think you did. You did fine.
Yeah, the first century was the easiest century I think I've ever ridden.
That's good perspective.
And you have another 140 miles to go. You're like, okay, 100 down. That was easy.
Yeah, we were ripping. That was a good day.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting in a bar at the end of the day drinking a beer, and you're like, you got to do something with that, man. And so the day across Minnesota was born. So it's your fault too, right? Blame Robert, everybody.
I'm really sorry.
Let's talk a little bit about support. Couple quick things that I think are really, really important from my perspective. Support people. We try to keep them off the course. We have designated checkpoints every 60 miles or so that are the only place that support crews are allowed to support their rider. They cannot hop in the middle of the course and support them. If they do, the rider will be disqualified. Now, they can go in and extract the rider if the rider needs to bail. That's fine. But no showing up and giving food, water, other foot rubs, the usual things that support crews do for the riders. So that's an important thing to throw out there. Also, at these checkpoints every 60 miles, there are no facilities. Look behind Erik, look behind me. These are two actual photos of checkpoints from the day across Minnesota. They are in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so there's towns miles away, a couple miles away probably from each of these locations. But for support crews, there's no facilities in the middle of nowhere. So we recommend taking any opportunity that you can between the checkpoints to use a bathroom, to stop and get a snack or whatever you got to do. So anyway, throwing that out there, that's an important thing that people always ask about. We like to level set so you know what to expect. All right, Erik, you've got some questions, I think.
I do. Yeah. Yeah. So, for me, the biggest thing is when everyone comes to check in at Buffalo Ridge, I see the riders come through. I see the support crew come through. And it's amazing to me, just the diversity of riders, diversity of support crew, everyone from seasoned veterans who are running a van with 3 or 4 riders, and then people where it's the rider and an aunt, mom, fiance, roommate. It's so different. So, with Robert and Emily, you were pretty much together. It was the two of you. So one of the things that I wonder is so what was that initial conversation like? Like, how did you ask for help? How did you explain what was needed? Like, how do you say, hey, will you support me for a 240-mile race? Okay. Like what was that conversation like, and how did you approach it, and how did you discuss that initial concept?
I probably asked you if you would do it, and I don't know. You're nice, so you say yes.
Like, was Emily your first choice, or
she got shoehorned, is what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
I was happy to help.
Well, because I know, Emily, I know you ride as well. So that's a thing. So it's you also ride long distances, and you've done a lot of these events. So I think you already had a background of knowing what was kind of already happening. I think a lot of people sometimes in the support crew have zero history with these kinds of events, and they're interesting. I mean, they're amazing events, especially something this long. So did you have, like, when you decided you were going to help, did you have any kind of initial thoughts, or like, okay, what am I like doing, or you know, what was your first, like, okay, what do I need to do here? What was going to be required of me? Did you have any of those kind of questions, or what was going through your head?
Yeah, well, I guess I would start by saying that I was really excited about the event. I thought it was a really cool like opportunity. It was the first year that the event happened, so I thought it was really cool that Robert was undertaking this big ride. And yeah, so I definitely had lots of questions about what supporting him would entail. Like, okay, what time does it start? What am I going to be doing in between stops? Yeah, what do you need me to do at each stop, and how can I best help support you?
So so that kind of leads to my next question. So like, what kind of pre-planning did you do? Like, as far as like menu planning for Rob, for yourself, for Emily, for yourself? Like, did you have meetings? Like, how much pre-planning did you do at the beginning?
I think we did quite a bit of pre-planning. I made a spreadsheet, so we knew like what miles at all the checkpoints were at, and then the spreadsheet had like different average speeds that I thought I might make, and so like each of those told you like, okay, how many hours, like about what time will I roll up to each of these checkpoints, and then at each of those checkpoints, like here's what we're gonna plan for nutrition, and then so like how many bottles, what's in the bottles, am I gonna be swapping Camelbacks, how much food and what food items, and I think we tried to go for like a variety of food, not knowing like what my tummy was gonna like at mile 180 or whatever. Turns out really didn't want anything, but I think we tried to plan it pretty directly. We went as far as to rehearse the checkpoints a couple of times.
Wow.
We were just trying to remember, like, okay, like how much planning did we do? Like, did we rehearse? And I think we rehearsed the checkpoints. So like I think Emily took, I would like roll up to the checkpoint. Emily would like take the stuff out of my jersey pockets, put new food into my jersey pockets. I would like take the bottles out of the empty bottles out of the cages. She would put new bottles in, and then like swap Camelbacks if we needed to. So that was definitely the game, was to like try to make it as fast as possible.
So another part of our strategy that we were remembering is that there was a little bit of flexibility too. Like at that point, Robert's tummy couldn't handle the same food that he had been eating, so we stopped and got out one of the sandwiches that was planned for after the race, and had a quick sandwich before we rolled out.
Real food is a great idea for support crews who are prepping. Yeah, remember real food.
Yeah, I think if I do it again, I will definitely plan out more real food, because like 13 hours of salted nut rolls is really, it's not sustainable.
My kids think it's a great idea, but yeah.
No, it's a great idea for like the first 4 hours, but there's only so much peanuts you can eat.
Yeah. So obviously for you two, I mean, because Rob, again, like you were a race, I mean, you finished top 10. So you were definitely, your goal is to go as fast as you could. So you weren't spending a lot of time. So you were making the checkpoints pretty quick. I don't know if that's the experience that most people have. I think, you're going to be one of the faster people. Emily, you were able to, granted it was a quick, very fast experience when Rob rolled in. You were prepared, you were ready, and then he was gone. And then that was kind of, your job was done. So what did you do as far as like you planning when you got to the checkpoint, what you did between checkpoints? I mean, because you don't know where these places are initially. I mean, so as far as you passing time, figuring things out, like, because again, your experience with Rob was like so quick, and that's really why you're there. But now you have all this time to pass. Like, what did you do? What were some strategies that you had, or what did you end up doing that was either for yourself or for Rob to make it better?
I tried to sleep as much as possible. At the time we had a Prius, which was big enough for me to sleep in the back, pretty much at full extension. So I slept, and then having the time estimate that Robert had planned on the spreadsheet, I woke up a few minutes before that and got ready, got all the supplies ready to hand it off. And I guess once the sun came up and it was more of an awake feeling time, I admired the scenery. I'm a big fan of, farmland and pastoral landscapes, so I really enjoyed. It was a beautiful day. That day I enjoyed being out in the countryside and passing the time that way.
Yeah. Were you able to, or did you find yourself using any gas stations, going into town, anything like that between time? Or were you pretty set with what you needed, like you brought food and things like that, or did you use other resources?
As far as I remember, I packed food from home.
Yeah, I remember I remember packing a lot of coffee.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
we had like at least 2 thermoses worth of coffee in the car.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we brought a lot of coffee too. I know Trent and I, we brought. So again, you got to fuel yourself. You're fueling yourself. And then, but again, like you said, the sun comes up. Like the photo behind me at checkpoint, I think it's checkpoint 2. Yeah. When the sun comes up, it's a whole different world. It's like you go from nighttime, the sun's up, and it's gorgeous, and it's a very, like you said, it's a mental change. There's a lot of beautiful scenery. So I guess the other thing, talk about change is so as far as you experiencing between checkpoints, I mean, it's very different. The first one's the middle of the night, and then it gets brighter and brighter, and then it gets hotter and hotter in the day. How did your moods change between checkpoints? I mean, again, Robert, you were going in pretty fast between checkpoints, but did you notice anything other than what you mentioned is needing some real food? Was there anything else that you think, you found helpful as you went through the day? I mean, sleeping was good, but I think people are going to be in their car for a long time, and people are going to get grumpy. People are going to get, I've seen people yelling at their support crew. I don't know how these people, it's a test of a relationship.
This is true. This has happened. There can be stress on both the rider and the support crew's sides as a rider rolls into that checkpoint. And do either of you have any advice for our riders and our support folks to help them manage that?
I don't know. Emily did a great job, so there's really no reason to be. Not even if you had done a bad job, I wouldn't have been mad at you. But there was really no reason to be upset.
Emily, do you think that your planning really helped alleviate stress for you going into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Knowing what was expected of me and, being able to check off the boxes that I had done my job. And that definitely alleviated stress for sure, knowing exactly what I needed to do.
Yeah, and I think as much as possible, laying out the expectations and doing the rehearsal of okay, this is how this is going to go, and knowing okay, here are if I average 18 miles an hour, I'm going to be at checkpoint 3 at X time, right? So having all of that kind of dialed and reducing the unknowns, I think really helped it go smoothly and helps, I think, reduce the stress of what was going to happen. I know riders whose support crews were driving support for multiple other people. I think that seemed like those folks had a harder time with their support crews either not being there or being asleep or any of that stuff. So I can imagine that would be that could be a bit more stressful for the driver and the rider.
It usually is, yeah, especially if those racers that they're supporting are really spread out on the course. It gets to them.
Yeah, it seems like managing expectations for everybody is really key. I mean, again, we've seen riders come in and they cannot find their support crew. They're way up, they're, we're in the middle of a field, we're parked in the, on a street, on the road somewhere, you can't find the car, the person's asleep. So like, I think that's things people should think about is like, maybe hang some LED lights that are powered by batteries on your car. If you are sleeping, they can still find you, make it, but again, having the expectations and knowing when your riders are going to show up, what they're going to need when they get there. So I think you've covered everything that I think some people maybe aren't thinking about, especially when they just throw it on someone and say like, hey, can you help me out? And they're like, sure. Okay. So I just need to drive around and wait for you. Okay. It's like, no, there's way more than that. So, so that's why I think the two of you did an awesome job. Thank you for that, for sharing your experiences with us. That was awesome.
Absolutely. It's a crazy experience. Bike racing is kind of dumb. The stakes are really low if you think about it a little bit. So it's all just about having fun and challenging yourself. And there's no reason to get upset if your support crew doesn't roll up, because
Agreed.
You're doing a favor.
That's a very good perspective. Right now, registration for the Day Across Minnesota is still open. Head over to thedam.com for more info. That's the-dam.com. That's it for episode 2 of Damn Fools. We're going to have another one coming up here within the next week. So stay tuned to episode 3 and keep the questions coming, because we're getting a lot of great stuff from you guys. Take care. Thanks a lot, Robert and Emily.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a great one.